I take pride in being a woman of my word. I enjoy being the person that others can count on. And I realized some time ago that I had this habit of breaking promises to myself every single day without even noticing. So I want to talk about integrity, but not integrity with others, integrity that you have with yourself. Because I think many of us, especially women who are responsible, reliable, and who are the person that others lean on, have a huge gap between how we show up for others and how we show up for ourselves. And in order to step into our best lives, it's important that we close this gap. So, first things first, a broken promise doesn't have to be dramatic to be significant. I want you to think about smaller daily promises that you have broken to yourself. So that could be the early bedtime that you set for yourself and then ignored because you decided to scroll cat videos on TikTok instead. Or the walk that you said you take that became maybe I'll take it tomorrow. Or the project you moved to next week for the fifth week in a row. These are all small things when you look at them individually, but collectively, they're significant. And what I noticed in my own experience is I would never do this to someone else. If I told a friend that I would meet her at 7, I'd be there. If I committed to a client call, I'd show up as best prepared as possible. If I promised someone that I'd get something to them, I'd get it done, even if I was tired, even if I didn't feel like it, because I said I would. And my word means something. But I noticed that there were times when the promises I made to myself were just treated differently, especially the ones where no one was watching or the ones where no one would be disappointed if I didn't follow through. These were the types of self promises that I would break without second thought. And I think about that and wonder, what does that say, right? What does that say about how much I value my own word and about how seriously I take my commitments to the woman, the person that I'm trying to become? And these are questions that I sat with for a while. And it was, definitely uncomfortable to answer them honestly. I think that a lot of us were taught in somewhere along the way in some form or another that other people's needs come first and that being reliable is more about being reliable to others and that your own commitments are optional whereas your commitments to others are not optional. And I think for many women this is a conscious belief, but then I think for a large amount of women this is also a subconscious belief, and we don't even recognize that we're operating and living life through this lens. There's this idea that we aren't actually the priority, that our word to ourselves doesn't carry the same weight as our word to others, and that it's okay to cancel on yourself, but it's not okay to cancel on someone else. And I think that at the end of the day, this is a self abandonment problem. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, no matter how small it is, you are sending yourself a message. You're telling yourself that you don't count as much, that your needs are negotiable, that you'll get to yourself once everyone else is handled. And over time, when that message grows and strengthens and accumulates, it shapes how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself, how you trust yourself, and most importantly, how serious you take your own life. So the reframe that I've kept coming back to is that integrity is not something that you owe other people. It's something that you owe yourself first. I would honestly argue that your integrity with yourself is the foundation of your integrity with anyone else because the relationship that you have with your own word, your own commitments, your own inner promises, that is going to shape everything. And when you keep your word to yourself, even in small ways, especially when no one is watching, something just changes. You start to trust yourself differently. You really start to take your own goals and needs and desires seriously in a way that changes how you move through the world. And when you consistently break your promises to yourself, the opposite happens. You lose trust in yourself. Your commitments start to feel meaningless because your actions have proven, so to speak, over and over that your word to yourself doesn't matter. And that causes a quiet or a slow erosion, I guess you could say. It kind of erodes your confidence, your self-respect, your sense of self, the sense of who you actually are and what you're capable of. So I think this is an important pattern worth examining in your own life. And of course, not with shame, not with self criticism, but just really having an honest conversation with yourself and asking yourself, why do I do this? What am I prioritizing over myself? And what would it look like to take my word to myself as seriously as my word to anyone else? Because in order to make a change in your life, you have to start carrying yourself differently. You have to make decisions differently. You have to set boundaries differently. And you have to prove to yourself through small, consistent, quiet acts of self-integrity that you are worth keeping your word to.